I'm 19 years old, running away from Egypt, being chased to the airport of Cairo by my family. And the last thing I say to my mother before walking away is, "You will never see me again." And I meant it. These were my rebellious years. You remember your rebellion years when you thought you knew it all and your parents were complete idiots? Maybe running away from Egypt was a bit extreme, but in my eyes, the mother I once looked up to had fallen from grace, and I wanted nothing to do with her or the culture that I was raised in. As a child, my mum was everything to me, my lifeline, my protector. She had gotten rid of dad, who was often horrible to us, and was raising us as a single mum. It was just her and us, and life was filled with love and adventures in the summer sun. She juggled everything, and she did it all. She paid the bills, she did the shopping, and she still made time to be silly with us. I remember I'm 8 years old, we're at the park, my sister and I are swinging on the swings, and mum giggles like a little girl as she runs over to the tree, lifts her leg to the side, and pretends to pee on the tree like a dog. We all laugh, a deep, hearty laugh, and I admire how real, silly, and yet strong she is. Yes, I put my mother on a pedestal for the first 10 years of my life. But then she took my father back. She let him back into our lives, and I felt betrayed. Suddenly, I saw my mother as weak. I blamed her for choosing a horrible husband. I blamed her for my issues with emotional eating and weight. I'm 19 and I'm begging mom to run away from Egypt with me. But she's too afraid of what my father will do if she leaves again, but this time with my little brother, the only one carrying the family name. And she wants me to stay with her. But I decide I'm going anyway. It's the night of my flight, and my mom deadbolts the doors to our fourth floor apartment and waits in the stairwell until my flight takes off without me. The betrayal that I felt was at another level. How could she be the one standing in the way of my freedom when she knows there is nothing worth staying for here? The next day, when she chases me to the airport of Cairo and I make it through the gates to board, I turn to her and the last thing I say with conviction is, "You will never see me again." And life is great without her, for a while. For as long as I'm my only responsibility, life is breezy. When she follows me to Australia with my sister and brother, I'm still judgmental of her. I lose the 49 kilos, I'm crowned Australia's bikini champion model with a 6-month-old baby in my arms, and I think I know it all. I start my permanent weight loss coaching business despite mom urging me to stay in a comfortable corporate job because, well, she's backwards and I'm modern. I thought that after all my therapy sessions that I was nothing like my mother, that I had done what she didn't have the courage to do. All it took was the stresses of a tough marriage and motherhood for me to realize I wasn't such hot shit. When real life hit, it hit hard. I get married and I realize I'm just like my mom, a free, independent, rebellious young woman who's overly trusting in love, wanting to believe the best of everyone and getting betrayed by the man she loves the same way my mother did. When I become a single mom, managing a house with a little kid, being the provider and the caregiver, I start to understand how exhausted mom was, raising two of us alone. And in my own moment of exhaustion as a single mom, as I'm frantically packing school lunch with 100 responsibilities on my mind and my son talking all at the same time, I catch myself daydreaming of someone to share the load with. And I understand in that moment that mom wasn't weak. She was freaking exhausted, much more exhausted with two kids to love and two mouths to feed. And then I remember seeing pictures of my mom after having my older sister. She looked great after having one child, just like I did. I remember hearing how she was considered rebellious back in her day for hosting a radio show, and I start to realize we're more similar than I thought. It's a warm summer day in 2024. Mom and I are driving down the road, and I find out that mom has not been approved for a lung transplant operation and now has months left to live. I'm in shock. We had such high hopes for a lung transplant being approved. And I hear God's voice in my heart, and he says, there is no more time to sweep things under the rug. I pull the car over, wipe the tears from my eyes, and I say, Mom, we have to talk about when I ran away from Egypt, about when you accused me of tearing the family apart. of all the things that upset us. And I see her reaching for the door. She stubbornly says no, and I lock the doors quickly, and I look at her and I say, "You're not leaving this car until we do, Mama." And so we talked, and we cried, and we forgave, and we hugged, and I saw the real her, and she saw the real me. And as she got more and more sick, I took care of her. I fed her, changed her, showered her. One day I'm helping her and she starts crying and she says, "I'm so sorry I'm a burden." I hold back tears. I smile at her and I say, "Are you kidding, Mama? This is the greatest honor of my life, to look after the mama that held me the same way when I was young and vulnerable." See, Mom was never as good as I thought as a child, and never as bad as I thought as a teenager. She was human, a human who I found out from her friend weeks before she passed, prayed for me continuously, even when I wasn't talking to her. In that moment, I realized this woman has loved me from the moment I was born, and she has never stopped. Just as my baby boy can poop in my hands and I still love and adore him, so did she. I realized then that her heartbeat was the first I ever felt. Her voice was the first that I ever heard. And her body was the first place I called home on earth. And on the best of days and the worst of days, she prayed for me as I do my son. And as I'm sitting there beside her hospital bed, hours before she passes, holding her thin, frail hands between mine, I think of how lucky I am to have had such a beautiful mother and human to guide me all these 39 years. And as I realize that she is me and I am her, I place my lips on her hands, I kiss her, and I say, "I love you forever, Mama, and I can't wait to see you again." The truth is, children are never lost to us. Yes, we all go through our period of closeness and distance with our children where they put us up on a pedestal and they shove us off when we fall in their eyes, but they always return to us because nothing and no one can ever break that mother-child bond. And as it turned out, I didn't run away from my mother. I ran in a circle, straight back to her love.